Good morning, friends. In this video, we are going to discuss about Spring Boot introduction. So when we are developing web applications, we use three-tier architecture, entire architecture, right? So they're a layered architecture, presentation layer, business type, maybe data type, right? So if you look at one complete transaction, request comes from presentation tier and it goes to business tier, data type, and similarly the response will come back from presentation, right? Request comes to the controller and the response will come back from you, right? So when we are developing web application, we use Spring framework across all the three layers, right? Suppose in the presentation layer, we can use Spring MVC. Similarly, in the business layer, Spring has a POJO container. So initially, Spring started as a lightweight container, POJO container to manage the life cycle. Similarly, to provide some services like transaction, security, other stuff, right? Then when it comes to data tier, Spring has a template. Spring is also known as a template framework, right? Template is part of Gang of 4 design patterns, right? The Gang of 4, there is a class scope, nothing but inheritance, and there is a behavioral pattern called template. Normally, whenever we talk about the pattern, we have to give the scope of the pattern also, whether it comes under inheritance or composition, right? So Spring provides templates for JDBC. We have a JDBC template. If it is an Hibernate, there's an Hibernate template, JPA template. So the advantage of the template is, instead of we managing the connection, suppose in the case of JDBC, we create a data source, get a connection, prepare statement, execute statement, close the connection, and put the entire code into try-catch block, right? We do exception handling. But when it comes to Spring, advantage is Spring provides a JDBC template. We can just use JDBC template and we can execute some SQL query, right? So in web application using Spring across all the three tiers, we need to put some efforts, right? Because in the Spring comes with some configuration, either through XML or annotation. We need to do some kind of configuration to build one web application end to end, right? Starting from web.xml file, then similarly Spring has some servlet, Spring MVC-servlet.xml, then other stuff you have to do it, right? Finally, this application we are going to deploy into Tomcat. So there would be one external Tomcat where we have to deploy this application to Tomcat Web Apps folder, right? So this is where Spring Boot comes to the picture. So when we are developing Spring application across the entire and deploying to one Tomcat, external Tomcat, Spring Boot simplifies this entire process, right? So if you look at the definition of Spring Boot makes the web application easy to create, any application to make easy to create, standalone, production grade Spring based application that we can just run, right? So the Spring Boot is a project that is built on top of the Spring framework. It provides an easier and faster way to set up, configure, and run both simple and web based applications. So we can use Spring Boot for even normal simple application. We can use it like a desktop application. Similarly, we can use Spring Boot for developing web based applications, right? And one of the main advantages of Spring Boot is it completely simplifies the development, okay, across all the three types, and it comes with an embedded Tomcat. So we need not to go to an external Tomcat and deploy the application, right? When you launch Spring Boot itself is capable of launching one embedded Tomcat. So with Spring Boot, what happens is we have a Spring framework plus embedded Tomcat server minus the configuration becomes a Spring Boot. So there is no or less configuration which we are going to use, right? And there's an embedded Tomcat, right? And if you see the definition of Spring Boot, it is an opinionated convention over configuration. Get started with minimum effort. Create a standalone application and production grade applications, right? So what do you mean by convention over configuration here? If you say convention over configuration, there is less configuration or no configuration. Just by following some naming convention, Spring Boot can detect all the stereotype annotations, right? So I'll come to that point actually. Similarly, the opinionated means when we are starting Spring Boot application with a Spring Boot starter web application, so Spring Boot knows that we need not define the port number. Spring Boot knows that we are launching web application, automatically it starts the port number 8080. But at any point of time in the application.yaml file, if you define the port, then Spring Boot says that, okay, my assumptions are wrong. I thought, okay, it's a web application, let me start with 8080. But explicitly some port number is given, so let me honor that and start with that particular port number, right? So that is what is opinionated. Similarly, when you say get started with minimum effort is nothing but Spring Boot application would hardly take you 5 minutes to create it and test it. That much simple it is because it comes with some starter classes. So we will see the one practical demo also, right? And create a standalone application, right? Each Spring Boot application itself will run as a separate Java process. and production grade application. Production grade means whenever an application goes to production, so we would require some kind of tool where we can monitor the metrics, right? Suppose runtime, if I want to know heap dump, I want to get some heap dump, or for example, thread dump, or we want to know how much memory is used, how many connections are used, how many threads are used, or runtime, if you want to do some graceful shutdown, right? We would require some tool, right? So Spring Boot comes with, there is a tool called Actuator, right? That Actuator makes Spring Boot production grade application. Now let us see one practical demo using Spring Tool Suite. We can try this using even IntelliJ also, right? So here, when I say File, New, there is a Spring Starter project. So when I click Spring Starter project, it connects to https:/start.spring.io. This is one portal. Actually, even we can directly go to this portal and create the Spring Boot project, right? So when we create a project, it will connect to this particular URL, right? And downloads the required artifacts, okay? So let us give one example like, so I'll just say there is a simple service. Let me create one simple service, one project, right? Then we can give the group name, other stuff we can give it. Okay, let me put package name is demo.boot, and then other stuff as it is, I leave it. Okay, we'll go with the default one. And here there are some Java versions we can choose it. So let me go for Java version 8, right? Then when I say next, here we can see there are a lot of project dependencies are available. Suppose if you want to create a web project using Spring Boot, we can type here web. When you type web, so there are Spring Web, Spring Reactive Web, Spring Web Services. There are different options will come up. Okay, let me select Spring Web, right? When you select Spring Web, right side, you can see that Spring Web. If the project is already created once, then automatically those things we can see under frequently used stuff, right? Okay. After selecting the Spring Boot, then there are other options. Okay, let me select, there is a dev tool. There is one dev tool, another dependency, right? Let me add dev tool dependency. So the purpose of dev tools is, whenever the application is running, right, Spring Boot application is running, when you do some modification, we need not restart the dev tools. The tool is capable of restarting the application, right? Similarly, like I told you, actuator. So let us have a dependency of actuator, right? So I'll select Spring Boot actuator. So all these three dependencies are selected, right? And if you observe, the version of Spring Boot is 2.3.3. That is the latest version here. If you see the drop down, you can see different versions. Out of this, 2.3.3 is the stable version. So whenever Spring changes the version, right, Spring Boot comes with a new version, because Spring Boot internally uses Spring Framework, right? Then we can say next. Then finally we say finish. When you say finish, automatically it start downloading from all the Maven dependencies will get downloaded, right? And if you observe here, there is one simple service, one project got created, and here you can see the type of the project is boot, and also dev tools are added. So let me expand this. When I expand this, there is a source main Java. There is one demo.boot. One class got created here. So there's a public class simple service application annotated with @Spring Boot application. So this is what you can observe here, right? This is automatically got created. I'll come back to this annotation, what this annotation will do. And inside the main method, there is a Spring application.run, and we are passing this class name and the arguments, right? And these two are part of, see the framework, the importing statement, package statement, arg.springframework.boot.spring application. Similarly, there is a boot.auto-configure Spring Boot application, right? So these are all part of Spring Boot, right? Then in the source main resources, we observe there is one application.property file got created. So instead of application.property, even we can go for application. Let me rename it to application.yaml file, right? The advantage of YAML file is it is more hierarchical, especially when you're typing some metadata, you'll have more hierarchical way of typing the metadata, right? So it is very easy to maintainable point of also, it becomes very easy. Okay. So here there's nothing is defined. By default, if you see here, if I type port, right, you can see server port will come here. Okay, let me select server port. Okay, so if it is not given, the default port is 8080. Similarly, if I say context path when I select it, if it is not given, the default is /. So normally the Spring Boot application starts with a context path /, right? And if you see the YAML file here, it is hierarchical here. So this context path is under servlet, servlet is under server. Similarly, port and servlet are under server. It is very easy to manage, right? So this is not given also. I told you default is here. Default is 8080, context path is slash. Anytime you want to change the port number, then we can give all these properties. Okay, let me save this anyhow. Let me come to the main application, right? So this application is going to launch the Spring Boot application, right? So we are using the Spring Boot for web-based application, right? That's why we selected web. The dependencies we selected web. Similarly, we selected actuator, right? So when it comes to pom.xml file, in the pom.xml file, we can see the version 2.3.3 release. Similarly, the version we selected 1.8 Java version, right? Further come down, there is a Spring Boot starter web. You can say Spring Boot starter web. So Spring Boot provides predefined starter classes. The starter classes completely simplify the dependencies in the pom.xml. So normally when you're developing a Spring application, here we need to mention the Spring core, Spring context, all Spring related dependencies we have to mention it. But this is one thing which is enough. We need not define even Spring MVC, nothing. This one starter web automatically provides all those dependencies, right? Similarly, there's a Spring Boot starter actuator you can see here. So Spring Boot comes with inbuilt starter classes. At the same time, we can develop our own starter classes to customize it. Suppose we are using Spring Boot with Swagger, we can create a starter class for Swagger. A Spring Boot with Camel, we can create a starter class for Camel. Wherever starter class is not there, either we can customize it, or maybe frameworks like Camel, if you are using, Camel may provide some starter classes, right? Similarly, there's a dev tools. There's one dependency for dev tools, but dev tools will not come with a starter class because it's only one dependency here, right? Now, if I say Spring Boot starter web, if I select this dependency, there is one dependency hierarchy here. And the pom.xml, like pom.xml, you have other tabs. Let me select dependency hierarchy. And here, if you observe, there is Spring Boot starter web, right? So if I expand this Spring Boot starter web and expand it, see here what are the things are there? There's a Spring Boot starter JSON, Spring Boot starter Tomcat. Then there are other Spring Web MVC. Okay. Similarly, there is a Spring context, Spring core. There are some dependencies. So if you observe in the pom.xml, just we mentioned this, but this internally inherits a lot of other dependencies, right? And main you can see here Spring Boot starter Tomcat. This is what is an embedded Tomcat. Right? So whenever we start Spring Boot application, it is capable of launching embedded Tomcat, right? Similarly, there is a Spring Boot starter JSON you can observe here. See, one of the main purpose of going for Spring Boot is Spring Boot starter web is nothing but for developing web services or RESTful web services, right? So that is the main purpose. Why the companies are opting for Spring Boot is as part of microservice ecosystem, all the microservices are developed using Spring Boot applications, right? So when it comes to RESTful web services, normally request and response, we prefer JSON, right? So normally JSON or XML also we can go for it, but most of the cases we use JSON because JSON is lightweight, right? So that's why this Spring Boot starter web by default comes with Spring Boot starter Spring Boot starter JSON also you can say that is a dependency you can observe here. So anytime when we are posting, when we are sending the request to REST service, right? The media types, for example, we'll say accept header. There is a similarly content type headers. When you give JSON, automatically this particular service application is capable of giving a response in JSON or accepting the request in JSON, right? But if you want to use it for XML, then we need to explicitly define one dependency for XML. There is a separate dependency will come for that, right? So similarly, if I go back to this application here, so we have created Spring Boot application here, right? This Spring Boot application is a replacement of 3 annotations, right? So for example, here, let me put, there is @configuration, there's one annotation. Similarly, there is @component scan. Okay, and there's one more annotation called @enable auto configuration, right? So instead of giving these 3 annotation, we can have a simple Spring Boot application, but this internally uses these 3 annotations, right? So what is this @configuration will do? So this @configuration, if I take it, it is responsible for what actually, let me put here, @configuration. I'll just write a comment here. So this is mainly for what purpose? It scans, auto scans the configuration beans annotated with @bean. Just understand here. Suppose we are using REST template. Similarly, we are using Swagger docket object, right? So they all comes under configuration bean. So we have to put @bean for that. Automatically this configuration, this is a annotation driven configuration, will automatically detect those beans. Similarly, we have @component scan, right? So what is the purpose of this annotation, actually component scan? It scan for, so it will scan for stereo type annotations, right? So what are the stereotype annotations here? @controller, we can use @controller or @rest controller, right? Similarly, @service, @repository. Then similarly, there's another there is a component, right? These are all known as stereotype annotations in Spring framework itself, right? So these are all not part of Spring Boot. Spring Boot is just wrapper on top of Spring. It simplifies Spring development, but the code is 99% it is a Spring code, right? So if you see this stereotype annotation like @controller, rest controller, we normally give this for our web component, right? Presentation time, when we are developing some web application, we use @controller. When we are developing RESTful web services, we use REST controller. So this REST controller, it's a specialized controller, right? And it gives response as XML or JSON, right? So that is the main purpose of this, right? Similarly, @service is used for business type. @repository is used for DAO type, right? So we have fine-grained annotations like this. So that Spring, any point of view, Spring will understand that any bean which is annotated with repository is like DAO. So whenever Spring wants to introduce or provide some functionality to DAO layer, they can provide into @repository. That is why we have fine-grained annotations like this. But other than this, anything we are defining, then we can go for @component, which is a generic component. Example is when we are using AOP. So the aspect class can be defined as @component, right? These are all stereotype annotation. They're automatically scanned by component scan annotation. Similarly, when it comes to when you have enable auto configuration, right? So what this will do, enable auto configuration. So this will scan for, enable auto configuration scan for the Spring Boot starter class. Example here, we have the Spring Boot starter class web, right? Spring Boot starter class web. So automatically what this will do is, for Spring Boot starter web, what configuration is required, that will be enabled. So there is one enable web MVC. So when we are developing normal Spring application, we use @enable web MVC to provide web related configuration, right? So this enable auto configuration will scan for the starter classes and it will enable that equivalent annotation here, right? Similarly, if the starter class is, let me put Spring Boot, right, starter, there is a security, we are using security. Then this is like @enable web security, right? So these annotations are part of Spring framework. Similarly, if there is a starter class with Spring Boot, let me put Spring Boot starter JMS. We are using Java messaging service, then it is equivalent to @enable JMS, right? So the purpose of this enable auto configuration is it will scan for the starter classes, then enable equivalent annotation, configuration annotation in Spring framework, right? These three, instead of we defining it, automatically the Spring Boot application internally does all these three steps actually, right? Done. Now let us go into, we are going to develop one simple controller, REST controller, right? So let me create one package here. So there is a demo new package. So there is a demo.boot. For example, controller, I can write a controller, right? Or ultimately let me put web, anything. Or for example, controller, right? Then say finish here. So one package got created here. Let me rephrase this. So if you observe here, there is one demo.boot, that is a base package. Then there is a demo.boot.controller, right? So under this, let me create a class, simple controller, right? So finish, right? So I got one just Pojo class here. Then let me make it REST control. So I'll write @REST, right? Control space bar. Automatically you can see the dependency REST controller here, right? And automatically that intelligence will come here, right? Then similarly, let me put public string some message, right? Display something. One method I'm writing here. Assume that this is going to return faith, there is a message called failed, right? Then we can put some mappings, right? When you're using RESTful web services, we have get, put, post, delete, right? So these are all the HTTP methods which we are going to use it, right? Let me put @get control space bar. You can see here, there's a get mapping. Let me give it. So save it, right? So we have written one simple controller and annotated with @rest controller at a class level, and in the method level we have a get mapping. The URL pattern is not given. By default it becomes slash, right? Now if you observe here, in the normal Spring framework, we need to define one component scan, and we have to mention where exactly these stereotype annotations are defined, right? Here I said there is a component scan which will scan for stereotype annotations, right? But like we discussed, Spring Boot is more like convention over configuration. Suppose we have not mentioned the package. For example, so inside the Spring Boot application, we can do scan base packages. We can mention the package. For example, I say demo.boot, right? We can give the package name, right? Actually, this will go to input to component scan, right? There's a component scan. So this will go to input to component scan, right? But then this becomes more like configuration. But Spring Boot is known as convention over configuration. Means even if this is not given, scan base package is not given, by default, this class is present inside demo.boot. So automatically the scan base package will take demo.boot as well as the sub packages, right? So anything starts with demo.boot.control or demo.boot.service, anything, Spring Boot automatically, because it contains a component scan, which will automatically scan all the stereotype annotations, right? We need required. In this case, this is not required. Let me remove it, right? So I'll save it. Now there is a Spring Boot application. Similarly, there is a simple controller which we created, right? Now let us start this application. So the Spring Boot application, we can say right click, run as Spring Boot application. Okay, let me start the Spring Boot application. Just observe the logs here. So this application started. So Tomcat got started at port number 80, right? Now if you want to test this application, we can go to Postman here. So let me type localhost 8080 because context path is /default. Similarly, in the controller, we have not mentioned get mapping. We are not given any URL. Just we can try with localhost 8080 with get method. If I say send, see the response here. The response has come as failed, right? So this is how we can test the application. So we got the response like failed, right? Now, if I go back to the STS here, in the controller, if I modify something like return faith, okay, I'll say do prayer, have faith, example. I just mentioned this, do prayer, have faith, right? If I save it here, we need not to stop and start, right? Here actually we can stop here, but we need not to stop and start because the DevTools is already added in the project. If you see a DevTools is added, automatically any changes if you do it, that tool will automatically restart it. So let me go back to Postman, and when I say send, so see the response here, we got do prayer, have faith, right? Similarly, if you look at this, we added one more dependency called actuator, right? There's one more dependency called actuator. I told you the actuator purpose is which provides the runtime metrics, right? We can get runtime metrics. Similarly, we can get some shutdown, right? Graceful shutdown, we can do it, right? So to discuss that, once again, let me go to Postman, open one more tab, type localhost 8080/actuator, right? Automatically, when we add the dependency for actuator, this endpoint will get enabled. Okay, when I say send here, it shows some of the default actuator endpoints. You can see there is a health actuator /health, similarly info. There are two endpoints are coming, right? Suppose if I try with info, let me try with info. When I say send here, there's nothing is coming, right? Because we are not given any information, right? So if I go back to here, let me go to application.yaml file. So let me type info, info. Automatically you can see info : map is coming, right? So I'll say colon, next line, I'll say author, example, Ramana, right? I'll put Ramana. Okay, some description. Okay, so I'll just put simple service, right? Let me save it. Now automatically the application will get restarted because of the DevTools, right? So when we add some info, you can put any key and value pair. You can write author, description, whatever you want, you can write it here. If I go back to Postman, when I say send here, this actuator endpoint info send, see that information we can get it here, right? We got author, description, something we got it, right? So that is one endpoint you can say. By default, there are few endpoints will automatically get displayed, right? There is an info one endpoint, health is one endpoint. Even if we click health and say send, it just says health of the application, status is up. But if you want to get other endpoints here, if you want to get all the endpoints which are provided by actuator, then we need to add, there are a few more entries here. So let me write here, let me type exposure. Now here, there is a management endpoints, web.exposure include. So if you want to display all the available endpoints, we can select this and let us put star. So when I put star, all the endpoints will be automatically displayed here, right? For example, heap dump, thread dump, whatever is required, right? Along with that, for the shutdown, if you want graceful shutdown, we need to explicitly type shutdown, right? So there is a, you can observe here, management endpoint shutdown enabled. By default, it is not enabled, it is false. Even though we have put star here, this will not get enabled. For the security reasons, we need to explicitly say true here, right? Let me explain, say true, save it. Then come back to Postman. So localhost 88/actuator send, you see what all the available endpoints now. It is not just now actuator /beans, caches. So there is a health, come down, there is a info. Shutdown, you can see one endpoint called shutdown. Similarly, there is a env, environment variables. We can get heap dump, thread dump, metrics, lot of options are enabled. Even if you want to see these options, we can take all these options, go to the browser. Here also, we can just type this. Automatically, you can see all the available endpoints will come here. Because it's a get request, even from the Chrome browser, you can try it, right? We got all the available endpoints here, right? So let me go back to Postman. We got this, right? Suppose if you want to get thread dump, okay, let me click thread dump here. So it will come as actuator /thread dump. When I say send, we can get all the threads information you can see here completely, right? Similarly, we can take heap dump, or if you want to get all the beans information, right? If you want to see what all the environment variables, just click the environment variable, say send, you can get all the environment variable information. For example, server port is 8080, all this information will come there. Similarly, if I say metrics, so there is an option here, see this, there is a metrics. When I click it and say send, it shows all the available metrics. Suppose here we can see JVM memory use, JVM memory max. So if I want to see JVM memory use, let me take this particular metrics and I will give this as an endpoint here. After /metrics, let me give this, right? So JVM memory use, right? And say send, we will get that memory details also. So the metrics endpoint will give all the available metrics. Then we can choose one by one metrics, whichever metrics is required for us, values required, then we can use that endpoint, right? And more than that, very important thing here is, when the application is running here, we should not directly kill the process, right? When you kill this process, then it becomes, or if you are using in OS level, you use kill process, anything, then it becomes the forceful shutdown. In the case of forceful shutdown, what happens actually, the application is running abruptly. When you stop it, the application will get abruptly terminated, so that the running request, whatever is there, they will be automatically terminated, right? So that is not the best practice. We need to do graceful shutdown. Whenever we do graceful shutdown, that means the server, the Spring Boot application, step by step, it will complete all the requests, existing requests. It will not accept any new requests. First, it will finish up all the existing requests. Then the graceful shutdown happens. Normally, when you're starting some Tomcat also, there would be startup script and shutdown script. Normally, what we do, we start up the script, but we don't use shutdown script. We directly say Control-C, but that is not a best practice. We have to use shutdown script. Similarly, if you want to do graceful shutdown here, the Postman, let me select, for example, here, actuator / or let me open one more tab here, type localhost actuator / shutdown. But the shutdown comes as a post request. We need to select post request. Then when I say send here, automatically you can see the message shutdown by. So if I come back to STS, you see that application got terminated here, right? So this is how we have to do graceful shutdown, right? So if you observe here, normally when you're developing microservices, we have best practices called 12 factors. We use 12 factors methodology while developing software as a service. In that, one of the methodologies is called disposability. Disposability means actually how quickly you can launch your application, and similarly